of the Clark County Board of Education. If you would, please stand for a moment of silence followed by the pledge. And if you would, during the moment of silence, keep the family of Ken Howard in your thoughts. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You told me 45 minutes.
I said
45.
I thought you said 45.
I know I said 45 minutes.
I'm sorry. Because
It's okay.
I heard Dr. Thomas say she might make it here by closed session.
I thought 45 as well.
I said 45 minutes.
I thought I
45?
425 minutes.
Oh,
Well, wait, it's been
gotcha.
45 minutes.
I thought it said 45 minutes. You said
It's like,
425
jeez,
minutes.
okay.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I
We
really
thought
thought
he
he said
said
45.
Oh, good.
Review of the agenda.
Could we move item
24.
number 24? Consider action and discussion of Catalan Industrial Building Revenue Bond and move that to, I don't know, 4 and
Yes,
move everything else down? Or?
that's fine. You don't have a problem with that?
You could make it 3A, so we don't have to
3A?
change everything.
Okay.
Make it
Okay.
3A under student support services.
Okay. Anything else? Do you have a motion to adopt the agenda with the changes?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Approval of the minutes for June 28th special meeting, June 28th, 2022 regular meeting, July 5th, 22 special meeting, and July 11th, 22 special meeting.
I've got one. The agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Now, the meeting on the 28th,
Oh, I wasn't.
you wasn't here, so how can you make that motion?
I'm sorry.
So we'll need somebody else to second.
Yeah. Okay, pull that one out. I didn't pay attention, Bill, I'm sorry.
The 11th, I didn't get here until y'all left.
Okay, so we need to pull out July 11th and July 28th. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting for the July 28th meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Do I have a motion to the meeting minutes for July 11th? Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Can we use the other motion for the other ones, or do we need to make, or July 5th? To,
We were all here for that one, right?
right, I make a motion to accept the regular meeting minutes for July 5th.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Miss Ritchie was absent on the July 5th meeting.
Okay.
No, I wasn't.
I thought it was the July 11th.
That's what it says on here.
I was here for the
She was
regular.
here.
Did you come in late?
Oh, okay, maybe.
Probably.
The only one I've missed is the
She was
11th.
absent at first, but if you go on down into the minutes, you'll see where she
She
arrived.
came in.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
My apologies.
No big deal. Student staff recognition, there is none. Is there any public comment, Mr. Kaysen? I'm sorry,
The mayor.
Oh, no, but he was.
Mr. Bartner, do you have any public comment, or did you just sign in?
I think he's gonna address Catalan.
I'm here for item, I'm sorry.
Now you're 3A.
I'm sorry.
You're here for the Catalan?
Yes.
Okay, now's the time to speak on that. We're
Okay.
gonna address it next.
I couldn't hear from him back. Was it removed from the agenda?
No, we know that you were here specifically for that item,
Okay,
so
all
as a
right.
courtesy, we moved it to the front of the meeting, so you wouldn't
Thank
have to hang around.
I appreciate
further.
that very much.
Anytime.
First of all, I appreciate the opportunity to address the school board. And I appreciate the work and the service that the school board members give to the community. I realize that earlier in the year, the mayor and the judge come and publicly say thank you. I believe that's in the spring of the year. If it's in the spring of the year, this will be my last opportunity to be before the board. So what you have before you is a matter that relates to an expansion by Catalan, which is an industry in the industrial park. Catalan has roughly 700 employees. It's the largest industrial community member in our community. And what you have before you is a matter that relates to an industrial revenue bond issue, very much like the bond issue that was issued by the city in 2015. This one basically models after the pilot agreement, pilot standing for payment in lieu of taxes. It is modeled after the 2015 agreement, and basically what happens with an industrial revenue bond issue is that if the bonds are sold on behalf of an industry, in effect, the bonds are secured by the land, building, and improvements. And the property, given the fact that it goes into the name of the city, it goes off the tax rolls. So what you do in response to that, what you do as a community, the issuing bond entity, which is the city in this particular case, is you explore with the industry payment in lieu of tax payments that would replace that. The property that existed, that Catalan owned prior to 2015, those assets and that property would be on the tax rolls. Then with the 2015 agreement, there was an understanding that Catalan would make payments to the Board of Education of $20,000 per year above and beyond what you would be receiving for your regular and normal property tax payments. With these bonds that are being proposed to be issued, the figure would go to $35,000 in addition to the $20,000 that you're already receiving and the revenues that you would be receiving anyway. So what the city did in, I believe, April of this year was that we issued the bond inducement resolution contingent upon a pilot agreement being worked out between the schools and Catalan. And Catalan made an offer, and that offer was communicated to the Board of Education, I believe the staff. So what we are asking is your consideration of an agreement on the 2022 bond issue. And these are pretty significant bond issues. The original bond issue was for about $140 million. This one is for top end max $220 million. This will create an additional 200 to 250 jobs and will push the total number of jobs for Catalan to over 900 for the community. With this last expansion, it will include not only work on property actually owned by the city as part of the 2015 issue, but it will also include the 3.5 acre site out on Venable Road that was a hemp facility that has since closed. So what I am asking is your consideration of an approval in concept There would need to be documents prepared. The city has retained a bond attorney of Louisville by the name of Tim Eifler. And Mr. Romp is representing the Industrial Authority. Mr. Dykeman is representing the city of Winchester in this. Brad Sowden, who is coming on board as our economic development person August the 1st, will play a much more heavy role in working these things out. They're sort of scraping the bottom of the barrel when they ask me to come and, and answer questions. And obviously, this is a matter that under other circumstances, Todd Denham would be standing before you tonight. So I would ask your consideration. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions you might have. If you get too deeply into the weeds, you're way beyond my capability. But I would ask your consideration, and I will attempt to answer any question you might have.
Thank you.
So the request is more of a consideration to approve based upon the final documentations being
Correct.
submitted?
Correct. I don't have a final document. All I'm asking is for you to consider and just generally say that this is something that you would consider and be interested in, and then final documents will come back before the board.
Thank you.
Okay.
All for public comment, agenda item 3A. That was number 24. Consider action and discussion of Catalan Industrial Building Revenue Bond. Ms. Ellis.
Mr. Berger did a good job of explaining what the industrial bond is for the city. So for the financial impact of how that affects us is essentially it decreases our SEEK property values, but in the scheme of how that falls out with the local effort and the tier 1 and all that, we're actually gonna have an increase in our SEEK dollars of roughly $25,000 next year. And again, this is just KDE projecting for 1 year for us out at this point. And local effort is actually a loss with that $6.4 million of roughly $42 million, but with them paying us $35,000 with the pilot agreement, it's actually an increase to our budget of $18,000 than we have right now. We're gonna get that $20,000 till 2025. It was a 10-year agreement. This will be a 40-year agreement of $35,000 payment if we agree to that bond. So for the next 40 years, we'll get $35,000 on top of what we've already been doing, which was a 20-year bond with the 10-year pilot agreement of the $20,000. Any questions for the financial side?
So your recommendation would be at this point for us to?
We would recommend you proceed just for the simple fact of, one, we can't project out really past next year, but the fact that it's going to bring 200+ jobs to the community,
Right.
which then brings families into the community, which in turn hopefully increases enrollment and so on. It would be a positive impact to the school district as well as the community.
My house is here. Any more discussion? Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that the board considers the Catalan Industrial Building Revenue Bond pending review of final documentations.
I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Item number 4, consider approval of second reading of policy updates from KSBA. Dr. Thomas.
Yeah, so this is the one that you all received, I think, last month, and KSBA always does their updates each year. You've had the first reading of the documents, and now would be the chance to ask any final questions. If you accept the second reading, then they would become policy immediately, and we would pass that on to KSBA, and it'd be reflected probably tomorrow, but certainly this week, on the KSBA website, also on the Clark County Schools website for our updates on policies. As my understanding as I researched, the only minor changes that the board took on reading number 1 had to do around the open enrollment. We know what that reg has allowed us to do is in regards to removing the boundary around Clark County, and so we've made those changes based on the board's recommendation. So I would recommend that we have the second reading and approve the KSBA policy updates.
Any questions or discussion? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Number 5, consider approval of stipend for superintendent designates. That's me. Miss Christy Bush was kind enough to serve as our superintendent designee for a while. And not only that, but anytime she is asked to do anything, put together something, sweep the floor, I don't care what it is, she does it willingly, and she does it well. And we wanted to compensate her for her time and her extra efforts and all the extra stuff that was put on her. And being the team player she is, she doesn't want any additional compensation, but I just want to publicly thank you for always just being willing to step in and do whatever. And it's really appreciated. So I'm gonna just not even make anything. Number 6, consider approval of district school handbook. Mr. Stump.
As is typical protocol, every year before the beginning of our new school year, we ask our principals in our schools to modify their handbooks for the board to consider approval. So typically, the changes from the old handbooks would involve staff changes or name changes, any policy changes and things of that sort. So on this particular item, we're looking at GRC's proposed handbook. We have a K-8 proposed handbook and the handbook for our preschool. So if I could just briefly go through quickly the changes in each of those, then we'll ask you to offer any questions or approve the handbook. So on the GRC handbook, on page 5, updated site-based decision-making and counselors. On page 6, updated the ACT test and school calendar. On page 7 and 8, they updated graduation requirement to reflect board policy 08113. On page 9, they removed the end of the course exams and ATC benchmark requirements for early graduation. Also removed stipulation that early grads were not eligible for prom or project grad. On page 11, they added dual credit and PLTW classes to the weighted courses. Removed paragraph explaining GPA for weighted class redundant. It was redundant. Removed advanced placement paragraph at the bottom of the page that was redundant, and removed requirement of the valedictorian, salutatorian must complete 3 AP classes in 3 different areas, and added recognition for students attending the Craft Academy. On page 13, they removed the co-op policy requiring students to be enrolled in capstone class and college or career ready. On page 32, they changed days to turn in written excuse from 2 days to 3 to reflect the board policy 09123. On page 33, they removed 15-15 rule and tardy to class, already in the discipline matrix. In page 33, tardy to school changes 3 notes per semester per 6 per year. On page 37, the dress code was replaced. On page 38, they removed morning detention and added after-school detention. And finally, on page 39, they added detention and Saturday school to the list of possible consequences. So those are the changes that are proposed on our high school handbook.
Can you go back and reiterate what you stated on prom?
Prom.
Mhm. And for early graduates?
Let's see which one that was.
It was one of the
You
first
know what
ones.
page that was on?
It was early on. I was trying to find it in the handbook.
Updated graduation requirements to reflect board policy, removed end of course exams and ATC benchmarks. Let's see, dual credit, remove.
This is the one that had to do with if they graduate early, they would not attend prom or graduation.
That's removed, right? So if they graduate early, they can attend prom. That's not an issue any longer.
That has been removed?
That's been removed.
Okay. You went so fast, I wanted to make
Yeah,
sure that was
sorry.
clear. Okay.
Okay to go on K-8?
Mm-hmm.
Okay to go on K-8?
Thank you.
K8, page 1, name changes. Page 3, changes in the board member roles. Crisis academic, or I'm sorry, the chief academic officer role and bus driver supervisor, the new hires we have. Page 3, name changes. I have in notes here, Thomas, Howard, Fitton, and Forward, which are the positions I noted earlier. Page 4, number of school days to 174. Page 5, inclement weather and communication paragraphs updated. Page 13, price for school lunches updated. Page 14, student performance passage to reflect the change in MAP to iReady and replace Common Core to Kentucky Academic Standards. Page 15, KPEP was replaced with Kentucky Summative Assessment. Page 15, checking yes on the Dial webpage was changed to media webpage. That was a misspelling. And page 20, bullet that starts, all visitors must register, ... or contracting teachers, changed to contracting to contacting. There was another typo area on that page as well. And that's it for K8. No, I'm sorry, there were 2 more. On page 8, the omitted medical excuse form is required after 12 medically excused absences or tardies, because as I understand, doctors were charging our families beyond the 12th day, and the proposal was to eliminate that requirement so that they didn't have to go to the doctor after 12 and be charged for those excuses. And then on page 19, we omitted the contact information for the community education position. Those were incorrect.
Are we even on that one yet?
Okay, and then on to the preschool. Page 3, updated the board central office and preschool principal information. Page 6, updated human resources director information. It was Scarlett Ryan. Page 12, updated the school year to the current school year, upcoming school year. And page 20, updated the principal information. That's it on that particular line.
The draft I'm looking at for the preschool, the principal listed is still Dr. Davis?
Yeah, we've changed that.
You have changed it?
Yeah, we have changed. It's not reflected in the document you have, but we have made that change.
Okay.
Dr. Davis submitted us a revision, and that was right before she left, and Mrs. Blanton corrected that and submitted it in, but you still have the one that Dr. Davis submitted, and we have made those changes.
Is Mr. Harris removed as a student board member?
I'm sorry.
Mr. Harris removed from the student board member section?
Oh, I don't know.
He's listed in the draft that is in our folder.
I'll make a note of that, make sure that's changed. Okay, with that, we'll ask the board for their permission to make the revisions and post those on our website.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I think, if it's on this one. No, this, where you go to the Board of Education where it says they must have, public comments, shall have a comment period of at least 15 minutes.
On which handbook?
I think you're looking at the policy revisions.
Is that what I'm on? I don't know where I'm at. That's what I'm trying to figure. That's what I was asking Bill. I don't know.
So on that one, that is the policy revision, and Kentucky Legislature
That's what I was
mandated that we
wondering.
have
Okay.
15 minutes set aside. It doesn't mean we have to fill the 15 minutes if we don't have that
Okay.
time.
Thank you. That was all. That's what I wondered is if, okay. Yeah, I think I went backwards on this thing. It threw me.
I couldn't see what you're.
Well, yeah, and this is not my usual computer either. I'm used to mine, and it's throwing me. Sorry, Donald.
That's all right.
I was trying to confuse you.
On the preschool handbook, my last name is spelled incorrectly.
Okay. On which page?
It's page 3.
Both locations, the email too.
Yeah, I'm a CKS.
I'm sorry, what other one, Mr. Tony?
It's her email address.
Her email and her name.
Okay, got it. We'll make sure to make those changes as well.
Anything else, guys?
No, I'm just catching up now. I'm finally skipping ahead where I need to be
Oh,
there.
I'm so tired. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion to approve the district school handbooks.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, 4-0. Consider approval, item number 7, consider approval of district school handbooks, Mr. Stunt, or no, transportation handbook, Mr. Stunt.
Transportation handbook.
Yep, sorry,
You rubbing off?
I'm on my C game tonight.
Okay, I have a brief summary of the changes that are being proposed on that particular document. We've updated names on the front page to be consistent with current employees. Page 3 and page 40, changed special education students to exceptional students. On page 7, changed the trip pay rate from $15 per hour to $15.45 per hour for our drivers, so it's 45 cents more per hour for a driver rate. We proposed an increase in that. And on page 8, changed number 19 under field trips from $1.50 per mile to $3 per mile with a 15-mile minimum. We're proposing that because of the increases, significant increases in our fuel costs. And then on page 7, we've made notations of trips being excluded no earlier than 4:30 p.m. because we're really having a difficult time getting buses to schools before 4:30 and dropping our kids off safely after school. And then on page 8, number 19, $3 per mile minimum, 15 miles, that was noted earlier on page 8. I've already noted that, so we're proposing those changes to the board.
So I read through here, and I did not see, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is there anything that you might have put in here to exclude our mechanics from driving
No, there's
routes?
nothing we didn't put that in there because we didn't feel that with absolute certainty we could protect them from that. You know, given the serious situation, they may be required to drive under an emergent situation, but we have talked to those mechanics and told them that we would do our best to try to prevent them from being used too regularly as drivers.
Can we put any sort of verbiage in there to say that would be prevented at all costs?
Absolutely. You have
I
a
just-
recommended wording for that? We'd be
I do
happy to add
not.
that.
I do not. I just want to limit. I don't want the mechanics to feel like they have to do that. You know, that they're
So are
forced
they
to do
all
that.
certified drivers?
No, we have 2 that are certified drivers and 2 that are not. And the 2 that we have, we've used a lot in the past year as substitute drivers.
Because of the shortage, but it's really doubling up on, you know, they're coming in really early and driving in the afternoon and like double duty.
And that
Almost.
practice has resulted in a lot of overtime hours that are required of them, 14, 16 hours per day. And it just, quite frankly, has worn them down. And
One thing
they're
we
asking-
can, one thing we can do or separate from the transportation handbook would be to revisit that job description and bring that job description back in front of the board and word it basically however we want to say, either in emergency or short term or no more than X number of days in a row, or eliminate it altogether. So
Okay.
that's probably where, that means we would start school with that opportunity that the mechanics would have to drive, but then at our next board meeting, we're happy to bring in front of you an amended job description for mechanics.
I think that'd be good. It'd give us time to think about the verbiage.
Do
Yep.
those 2 mechanics make any extra for,
For driving, no, they get their standard mechanics pay.
They do end up doing overtime though, and
Yeah,
well,
they
yeah,
work
but they're
overtime.
wore out. I mean,
Yeah.
we're losing them because they can't get time with their family because they're having to fix buses too.
Yeah, we're finding mechanics are tough to come by. You know, they're tough.
Yeah.
I think that's the right approach, though, is the job description.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
That way, it'll be there.
But are they gonna be needed to start the school year too?
There's a possibility. I mean, that's the situation that we're in. If okay, I'll take a moment and introduce our new transportation director.
Yeah.
We've got Denny Ford here, and Denny's our new transportation director. Welcome, Denny. And
Yeah.
he started this past Monday, but actually started prior to. And so to answer the question, he's already been able to work on our routes We've narrowed down 2 routes into 1, which has been a huge benefit. We still need 4 that we're working on, but we have confidence in his routing ability and some of his expertise he's bringing from Fayette County to Clark County Schools. So I know that he has great plans to work in the next 2 or 3 weeks to try to keep that from happening with our mechanics.
I'll make every effort to keep them off the road, but,
Yeah.
sometimes I'll go before they will, just so that I can keep it moving, but,
Yeah.
we'll make every conscious effort to keep them moving.
Which I love that. That's awesome that you said that you'll go. I mean, I think that's great
Yeah.
anyway to hear you say that.
We're all here to do a job, and the kids need to get to and from school, and that's my responsibility to ensure that happens.
Right. So how many mechanics do you have right now? 4?
2.
Two,
Oh,
yeah.
2 if one's already resigned and is gone, the other one, I think the next week he'll be gone.
Yes, and we have one on leave. I have 5 applications. I'll be making phone calls tomorrow, set up some
Okay.
interviews for that, and,
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Last time the board got
Zero.
updated with 0.
yeah, I have 5, and like I said, I'm hitting the ground running, so we're gonna try to get those positions filled and just keep doing it.
Yeah, but 3 of our applications make $30 and $40 an hour currently, so I don't know how optimistic I am about 3 of those.
Well, we'll see what we get.
Mhm.
Is that, okay. Any additional questions? Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve transportation procedures for the 2022-2023 school year.
We have a motion from Mr. Talby. Do we have a second?
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 8, consider approval of Phoenix Academy handbook. Mr. Stump, come back.
Phoenix Academy. Only one change on the Phoenix Academy handbook as being proposed by the principal, and that's the SRO change. We lost Mr. Wayne Green as our SRO at that building. We've advertised that position, and so that's the only change on the document that's been reported by your principal. It's the same as last year.
The letter
I've
on
done
page
it.
4 needs to be updated?
I've done an updated letter, and so we'll just need to
Okay.
get that one put in there as well.
I have it in my document, so it's already been added. You just didn't have the one where we've added that letter, but it's already been added there.
Anything else? Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Ms. Ritchie. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Item number 9, consider approval of District Crisis Management Plan. Mr. Stump.
Sorry, thought Tammy was in there somewhere.
This is all.
And I thought
This
she
is
was
your
in the
last
middle there
one.
somewhere. This is the Kentucky Center for Safe Schools protocol that we've used in the past for our district crisis response plan. We have each of our schools individualize this plan specific to their school. Each of those are current and up to date. But we'd like to ask the board to allow us to continue using this model. I will say that in the very near future, there'll probably be some amendments to this particular protocol. Mrs. Bush has been working with the local clergy on a telephone tree protocol that we'd like to add to it at some point. And also our SROs are still engaged in working with off-campus evacuation sites with each of our schools. We'd like to add that document to this document at some point in the very near future. So with that, we'd like the board just to approve that we continue using this model and come back to you at some later point to add those 2 other additions.
Did you all do the active shooter training again this year?
Well, they're doing that on the 15th. The local police department, sheriff department's partnering to do it on the 15th out at our high school. And we're going to have our SROs involved with that as well. A couple of our SROs did that in our school district a couple of years back.
Oh, yeah. We
And-
did it together.
Yeah, so we're planning on continuing to do that at our schools, but on the 15th, our two police departments are partnering with our SROs to do that at GRC on the 15th.
Will it only, so will it only be for the staff of GRC?
No,
or-
it's just for those 2 police departments at this point.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll take our experience from that and work with our SROs on doing it for our schools.
Okay, yeah.
It'll be live rounds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then what about the dogs, the drug dogs that came in? Do we still have them? I know we don't have that company.
Yeah, we don't have a contract with that company any longer, but I think the local police department has offered to us to bring in K-9s upon our request, and I think we're certainly willing to take advantage of that. But yeah, we're very open to that.
Let me go back to, and I'll address both of those happily, but back to the active shooter. So that is a practice for the police department and our school resource officers. And it's happening, they're filming everything on their body cameras, and then we'll go back and they'll share all of that with us and with our staff to see. GRC has some staff development going on that day. They've invited them to watch. They're not really active participants in that. They're going to go on with their trainings during the day, but they'll be aware of that going on as well. And then we do have representatives from each one of the schools who've been invited to come and observe to see what that's like. So we're really looking at that more of learning from their cameras and what their take is on that. And so they're going to be doing that throughout the day. Fire department is going to be involved with that as well, response teams and so forth like that. As far as the drug dogs, yeah, the chief has committed to say, you know, as much as you want to use them and their availability, they're happy to do that as well.
Okay. I just hadn't heard anything about them in a long time. I knew we used to have a company we contracted with, and then we got away from that. We were supposed to have something else going on. We never had an update on it. And before we had to have it in our policies or in our handbook because of possibility of having scratches or anything on vehicles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't know if.
I think this would be more random in regards to the administration working with the police department to come out on a scheduled time to do that. But yeah, there would still be some liability issues there. It's hard to avoid those.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I mean, as far as the active shooter thing, if you listen to, I don't know if you've kept up with that Parkland shooting, that trial, horrible.
Yeah.
If you just go and sit and listen to the videos and stuff, that's why it's like, it's a wake-up call.
Well, we've talked a lot about response from the sheriff's department, from the police department, and then what our local police, our school police will do, our school resource officers, in protecting our students and our staff inside of that school. So if something does happen, God forbid, at one of the schools, then our local school resource officers will stay. They're not responding to another school and leaving our students at that school. So it's been a good discussion so far, and I look forward to seeing what takes place on the 15th and actually getting to view those body cameras from the police officers as well.
I think that'd be really neat. And we have great SROs that stick with our kids and get to know them, and so yeah.
Yeah, and this will give us an opportunity on the 15th to test our radio systems out that we've been concerned about our coverage in that particular school, and we probably will be coming back to the board with some recommendations on how to better communicate with our local police departments, because AT&T is still not there with getting our 5G and our phone coverage in that building, so we're going to have to really look at something more urgently to allow our officers in that building to communicate with local police departments.
Yeah,
and I'll also mention too that we're prepared to deliver and reinstall the thermal imaging systems that the board has bought in the last couple of years at each one of our schools at several locations. So we'll be prepared on the first day of school to have those set up to measure temperatures and thermal image bodies to make sure weapons aren't existing on students too. So that's a pretty good safety precaution.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that technology has the ability not just for the temperature, but also to recognize the facial recognition as facial recognition capability.
That's correct, and weaponry.
Yeah. So why are we pursuing activating that where we know who's in the building by facial recognition? If someone comes in that's not in the database, no matter if it's a kid or adult or whoever, an alarm goes off. Have we started that discussion?
We have started that discussion, but Billy, do you have any other additional information in regard to the face recognition?
As far as the facial recognition, we will have to upload every picture into that system to get it there, and I do not think we have the capability to do that at this time. Take GRC, just to get all these staff in there, we're talking pictures, hours to get everybody uploaded, and then the foot traffic through the day, so I don't think the facial recognition is really a feature that we can count on. Far as the feature we can count, if we have an issue with somebody that we know we don't need in the building. If
That's-
we've got an
yeah.
employee that's been terminated, no longer around, custodial issue, we can upload that picture if we have a copy, and it will go off and it can send an alarm to our SROs. It would be more just for specific incidents rather than kind of counting who's in the building.
And those units are portable. We can take them to our sports events as well.
And there was talk years ago when we purchased technology to work with local police departments to upload certain individuals that may be at risk to the community and kids
Absolutely. We'll
as well. So, you know, maybe we look at that as well.
Okay, we will. All of our schools have vestibules, phone systems, so I'm feeling really good about our security right now. Boards did a great job in funding security in our schools. I think our students are very safe.
And one other question, just unless I misinterpret it, is our staff actually, the teachers and staff, the cafeteria workers, everyone, are they planning, do we have plans for them to go through active shooter training?
Not at this time. It's the first step with the police and sheriff's department. They're going to come in and use the site for training for that, but we don't have anything as of yet for anything with our staff.
Is that the go though?
Is that what?
Is that our go?
I haven't really thought about it, to be honest with you. I'd like to get through this one
Okay.
and talk with the chief and see what his thoughts would be on that.
I mean, God forbid if something happens, I would
Absolutely.
like to know that our teachers
Yeah.
and staff and everyone had some sort of idea of what to do,
Yeah.
you know?
I think it's
Because
part-
you, Mulligan you went through that with me, didn't you? That when we
Yes,
did-
we had, about 4 years ago, we did an active shooter ourselves, and we included the Winchester Police Department in with us and stuff. And they, it was really traumatic to some of the people. I mean, it was unreal how some people, even though they knew we were doing it, and we had people telling other schools what we were doing, so we were changing up. And so they didn't know what we were doing, and it was really effective. But some people, it was really traumatic to them. I mean, it really affected them bad. And it kind of made me want to weigh a little bit if we wanted to go to that extreme or not, because everyone's going to act different on a shooting situation.
That's a good point.
You know, and like, when we watched what happened in Texas, we had local law enforcement that acted beyond what we thought they would. You know, but the thing is if you want something like that done, we can get it done. But
They
I
did
would
really well.
I would wait and maybe do it during next summer so we can prepare and stuff, because those simulator rounds and stuff, they're really, you have to pick the right weapons to do it, because you can use the ARs and stuff, but they sound like little pop guns. It's better to use like a shotgun or something like that, because it really rings the bells and stuff like that.
Okay.
But we're glad to get, if you want us to do it this year, we'll look at doing it maybe on one of the days that the teachers come in on instructional time, stuff like that. We can do that, unless it interferes with their educational process, so we don't want to do that.
We can consider doing it on a voluntary basis. too,
Well,
for
and,
those.
I mean, you, correct me if I'm wrong, but they knew you were coming. They
Yeah.
just didn't know when you were coming. I mean,
Yes, that's
so,
right.
yeah, they knew it was happening that day.
I think the only thing I noticed that happened one time, we were at the preschool and we didn't have anybody outside. And there was a parent knocking on our door while we were doing the second part of our active shooter scene. And when everybody scattered, they were coming out the doors, and the people, they called the police and said they had an active shooter. Got out with the preschool, and the Winchester police were great when they came, because they were there within 2 minutes, ready for action. And it was good for them, and it was good for us too. But if you haven't set in on that, when we do it, you need to be there, because you will not believe what those hallways sound like when you shoot a gun down through there. It echoes like you would never believe.
They had to give me the things. I was done. After the first round, I was done, out, checking out.
And additionally, we added, for your summer project list, we had a lot of cameras in the district this summer, some more A-phones and to different entry levels at some of our schools. So feeling really good about our security right now.
there's one other thing we're looking at too, and I think Billy's addressed it also, is we're looking at maybe putting sensors on doors that the kids open and stuff. And when these sensors go off, they'll be able to call whichever SRO I have in the school there. It'll go straight to their phones. And we can see what doors are actually being opened at the time, because all of you know that's our main problem. We have people open doors and they prop doors open and stuff. So if we can get sensors put on these doors that lets us know that they're open, we can check them, because that's what we're supposed to be doing, you know. I mean, we could check a door and walk down the hallway checking another door. Someone could come right behind us and prop that door open on us, you know, within seconds. So if we can maybe look into that, the sensor thing, I think that would be a good opportunity for us also.
Yeah. Might be a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion or questions? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the district crisis management plan.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Consider approval of coach's handbook. Dr. Parrish.
So we've taken the KSBA suggested updates and additions and added those, and for the sake of brevity, I've just made some quick bullet points. So we did all the personnel updates and date changes. We also added the OSHA reporting, new guidelines, the non-resident student eligibility, and we've also updated the training platforms to PowerSchool. And those are the changes to the coach's handbook.
Any questions on the coach's handbook?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I have a motion by Mr. Talby. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Number 11, consider approval of employee and substitute teacher handbooks.
All right, quickly, the committee made some recommendations for personnel and date updates. We've removed Liberty Mutual and replaced that with the KIMI. PowerSchool trainings and our absence management system has also changed, so we updated that to SmartFind Express. We've also reflected the policy changes for classified hourly employees, that they can now take leave in hourly increments. We've also added the new reg for quarantine leave, and also the additional OSHA reporting in the employee handbook. The substitute teacher's handbook, we've changed and updated reporting times, and everything else stays the same as far as the OSHA updates, PowerSchool, and personnel changes.
Any questions or discussion? Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Ms. Ritchie. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Item number 12, consider approval of classified and administrative classified evaluation plan. Dr. Parrish.
So the two biggest changes that the committees made were to the summative evaluation. They've added an additional section to needs growth. And the same thing for administrative, but also with administrative in the individual professional growth plan, the committee recommended specific goals.
Any questions or discussion? Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Ms. Richardson.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Talby. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Parrish. Number 13, consider approval of certified evaluation plan. Mr. Howard.
Yes, I'll be brief. Only two changes, both on the cover, revised date. Dr. Elmer Thomas is interim superintendent. I'll accept any questions.
Welcome back, Dustin.
I'm glad to be back.
Any discussion? And does somebody have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Ms. Richardson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
The second by Mr. Talby. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 14, consider approval to add 3 days to parent notes to make 9 per KRS new law. Ms. Bush.
I'll see if I can beat that. House Bill 44, KRS 159.035. it would state that instead of just having 6 of our parent notes, we would like to use that mental health 3 days that KRS asked for and make our parent notes 9. So it's not singled out and labeled. Is that in a nutshell? In our policies in-house, it's 09.23, and that discusses excuses for Clark County Public Schools.
Do we need to make any changes to our policy, any verbiage, or?
The only thing, if you agree with this, handbooks, page 7, page 37, and page 34 will need to be updated from 6 to 9.
Okay.
Any additional question or discussion?
No, I will gladly make that motion.
We have a motion by Ms. Ritchie. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bush. Consider approval to continue student insurance with Roberts Insurance. Dr. Thomas.
Yes, so our student accident insurance will expire on July 31st of this year. Roberts is agreeing to again do our student accident service, student accident insurance beginning again at August 1st. This is the exact same rate that we paid last year, $56,324.60. And I'd recommend to the board that we approve that so that our students are covered accident-wise beginning August 1st, and it's a continuation of that service.
Any questions or discussion? I'll make a motion to approve continue student insurance with Roberts Insurance. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Richardson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Number 16, consider approval of K-12, K through 2 report card, Mr. Chinaki and Ms. Falls.
Hello, Matt Chinaki, Instructional Specialist.
I'm Jordan Folks, I'm also an instructional specialist.
So we're considering the approval for a updated kindergarten through 2nd grade report card for the upcoming school year. This started towards the end of last year. Teachers were voicing a desire for giving parents and caregivers accurate, specific, helpful, standards-based feedback to parents about their child's progress throughout the instructional year. And we comprised a committee with teachers and building administrators, parents and caregivers, exceptional children teachers, related arts teachers, and I'm leaving out some other ones. Yeah, just we try to involve all stakeholders to get a true picture of what actually was some of the issues and how to revise and improve the report card. So we had about 4 meetings throughout the past 2-3 months and worked to revise those, and we arrived on a final draft, which Jordan can summarize a little bit for you.
So our goal was to create a standards-based report card and move in that direction. And most importantly, we wanted to make sure it was parent-friendly and informative. We wanted to make sure when those documents are sent home, they know exactly what their child is doing in the classroom. So that was our goal, and we did come up with a final draft that we feel met that goal. All reading and math standards were present for kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd. Hopefully you had time to review those documents, and we appreciate your all's time. We'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
I noticed there's a parent signature line. Are you anticipating receiving those back after they
Yes.
sign? Okay.
We'll do that now.
Hmm?
We do that now.
It's been a while since I've had
Yeah,
kids in
elementary.
kindergarten, just.
Supposed to do that now.
Any additional questions or discussion?
Looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion by Ms. Richardson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Talby. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just-
Y'all were just too quick. I'm slow
Thank you,
today.
guys. Item number 17, academic suite update. Ms. Fitton.
Hello. I just wanted to talk about just a few minutes about our Cardinal Connections Academy that we had last week. So it was our very first, sorry, I can't see everybody.
Thank you, yes.
I saw you peeking
I'm
around.
dodging around.
It drove me crazy too. I just didn't know what it was for, so I didn't want to mess with it.
Thank you.
Right, So we hosted our very first Cardinal Connections Academy last week, which was our professional development learning for our teachers. They were engaged in 3 different required courses: an MTSS course, a diversity course, and an iReady course, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes. So it was our very first week last week, 4 days of professional development. We'll be hosting another week next week. We've heard great feedback, so very excited about that. Our attendance is increasing, so as we're looking ahead to next week, we have more teachers signed up for those courses as they're getting back and geared up for the next year. Also, as we continue professional development after these next 2 weeks, our department is hosting professional development for teachers every month throughout the year. So we have went ahead and pushed out a guide for September on the next slide. And it's showcasing all of our topics that we are doing in September to elevate our teacher learning. And then as the year progresses, we'll be adding new topics and needs based on what our teachers and administrators feel is pertinent to what they need at that time. And then one of our sessions that we hosted was an iReady session. So we are shifting focus from STAR and CASE in order to consolidate programs and our assessments to iReady. iReady is a connected learning system for assessment, instruction, and support, and it will streamline our program use in our district. iReady provides that universal screener that we must have, our progress monitoring tool, and our intervention piece that we were missing from the current Renaissance STAR that we were using. So our teachers have been or are being trained on that from last week and then as we move forward into next week. Any questions on any of that so far? Okay. And then I'll let Ms. Christy Bush.
In your documentation, you have our new social and emotional assessment that was done last year for the very first time. We started this mid-year, so we started in January, and this year we will begin as soon as school starts. Terrace Metrics has been used for over 5 years across the entire United States. You'll see the information in your packet. It gives you a description. It gives you the resiliency indicators. It shows you what a parent would receive, and then it shows you what a counselor at the school receives. We tested over 3,000 students, and it showed 4 major points for our community, our students. The percentage of George Rogers Clark High School reported criticism, difficulty accepting mistakes, and focusing on perceived faults. Our high school students took that more to heart than our middle school students. So this information can be used with our counselors or our administration on helping students work through difficult situations or behaviors. The other was for resiliency, that this assessment found that our students, compared to their peers, are lower for resiliency characteristics. One more, 1 out of 10 middle school and high school students reported significant elevation in anxiety and depression that interfered with their learning. 1 in 4 middle school to high school students reported functioning in an at-risk category. So the main focus, or the main point that our counselors got out of this as they went through the process with our students was the students that sit in silence. You know, they're suffering and they're not telling anyone. You can be the straight A student, the perfect child, the athlete, but they're suffering in silence. So this gave an opportunity for those staff members to really build a relationship based on this information that was collected to help them. 3rd grade through 12th, of course, the 3rd and 4th graders, 5th graders are not tested as deep on questions as the upper grades. They want to continue with this process. It's very eye-opening, and it just added another way for us to get relationship building with our students and try to help them at every level. Do you have any questions about the process? Parents, of course, have to consent. It's an opt-out type of a consent.
Some of the results that you read is not in our packet. Can we maybe get a copy of that?
I sure will.
Okay.
If you'd like, I'll just do the Clark County, not the individual schools.
Yeah.
But we have one for Clark County. If you'd like to see that, that would be great.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you. Number 18. Oh, sorry.
Few words from me.
Thanks, Justin. Sorry, I'll try to cut you short.
I'll try and be brief too. Just a quick update on the our Chromebook situation is looking ahead to this upcoming school year. So in second semester of last school year, I kind of worked with some members of our administrative team and planned out sort of what ifs and different funding scenarios or how we'd go about funding Chromebooks for this 22-23 school year. And I had some good plans, but I waited to actually present any of these plans because I also had submitted for a grant from the federal government as part of their emergency connectivity fund, round 3. It's their final round, they're doing it. And fortunately, we were awarded 100% of what I applied for. So we don't really need any board funds this year, so that's good. So the grant awarded us almost $500,000 in Chromebooks, and that's about 1,170 Chromebooks. And then with the administrative team, we discussed that an additional 500 Chromebooks would help just kind of like help us be a little more secure in what we had. And so we bought 250 of those 500 Chromebooks with district ESSER funds, and then schools are contributing their own funds to the other 250 based on their ADA. So GRC has the most students, they bought the most of the 250, and so on down the line. And so that will cover us for this upcoming school year as far as Chromebooks. And then looking ahead, I'll spend a good portion of this school year meeting with STCs and principals and other members of our cabinet of just how to go about different plans, proposals for refreshing Chromebooks going forward, because obviously this grant won't be there anymore. We'll have to get a regular rotation plan in place and funding commitment from the board and discuss if we want students to contribute, how much, what grade levels, how much we want to incorporate a free and reduced lunch. There's 100 different factors to look at. So this is just an update that basically we don't need any board funds this year for Chromebooks.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Nice job. Almost $500,000. Wow.
Yeah, that's good. Congratulations. That's the end of that, right? Number 18, monthly CCPS financial update, Ms. Ellis.
I'll try to be brief. So these are our preliminary numbers for June. These are unaudited. So obviously we have our audit now starting for the year end that won't be finalized till November, and then that's when you'll be presented the final numbers for the year. But good news, if you looked at the financial statement, we actually ended with a year-end number of like 10.8 million versus the 8 million we were projecting for rollover. So that's fantastic news that our beginning balance is going to start larger than we were projecting. So that helps our budget for next year as well. Just kind of brief summary, we are spot on for how we were last year. We're a little bit up percentage-wise revenue collections. A lot of that has to do with taxes and indirect costs, because we started taking indirect costs from our federal grants this year, which we've not done previously. So that was an increase to our budget. Expenditures were just 1% up from last year, so we're really kind of right at the same way we operated last year. Taxes, again, fantastic news. We've collected over 100% of our tax budget. We are very conservative always on our taxes just because we don't want to overextend ourselves, but the sheriff did a fantastic job, so shout out to him again on all the collections on that. Our motor vehicle too was up with how we budgeted, so great news on the revenue side. Rolling into next year again, preliminary numbers, but looks good so far with our year end. Any questions with that financial data that you've seen? So your standard reports the supporting documents were given. And then I guess the rest of it is discussion items if you want to wait or just kind of package it all together and talking. How do we want to do that? That's pretty much the updates with the finance.
Questions? Ready to move?
Mhm.
19, authorized payment of salaries and accounts payable, Ms. Ellis.
So standard, pay the bills, pay your payroll. Hopefully there's no questions there.
Do I have a motion? Any discussion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Ms. Richardson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Talby. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Acknowledge the monthly balance sheet report, Ms. Ellis.
So 20 and 21 are typically consent items. We just moved them up that all the financial stuff would be here together, but those are the two documents by law that you all have to see and acknowledge as far as the balance sheet and the monthly financial. So 20 and 21 are just acknowledging those monthly statements.
We do make a motion to do that, right?
Mhm.
Do we have a motion?
We don't need a motion. It just says
I
acknowledge,
thought you
right?
said.
Yeah, it's
just
acknowledgement, but.
Okay, 21, acknowledge the monthly financial report, Ms. Ellis, same thing.
Same thing.
20, any questions about that? 22, acknowledge the commit of general fund balance for SBDEM carry forward request, Ms. Ellis.
So per my audit standards, to commit any funds, we have to have that is brought before the board and that it is acknowledged that we're basically, so that $10.8 million that we just discussed, that we're rolling over in beginning balance, we're going to commit a portion of that for Section 6 carryover for our schools that were not spent in this year. We're going to roll that over into next year. And that roughly, roughly, listen to me, 105,000 is about the amount that will be rolled over that the schools did not get spent this year from their Section 6 that they were requesting to commit to give them again next year on top of their Section 6 they're getting for FY23. So we just wanted to acknowledge that we will be committing that. I have to have that in the board minutes for my audit.
In essence, that just simply means the school didn't spend all their money, and we're gonna give it right back to them so they can spend it next year.
Any questions? 23, consider approval of fiscal year 2023 stipend schedule, Ms. Ellis.
So I tried to make this as simple as possible in looking at it. So the red is additional things, and then strikeouts are things that we want to remove, essentially. So the big things is, and we've already brought this before your approval, I believe it was at the May meeting, turning that extra pay for our certified staff from $25 to $35 an hour. We're just changing some language when it comes to the K-tip. It's no longer K-tip. It's our new teacher mentor that we do in-house. The National Board Certification for Teachers has now been extended to the speech language pathologists, and we get reimbursed that from the state. We are asking that we add a social media coordinator to every school, and that is for them to manage their Facebook pages and the websites and making sure that that stuff is staying up to date, because that's becoming a full-time job almost for people. With the 3% increase, which this is a little bit more than 3%, but just rounding off the bus driver field trips, we're asking that go to $16 an hour versus $15. It would have been $15.40. And then time and a half would be $24 an hour. We've just added the language under grant paid stipends that anything that we write a grant for and put a stipend in, that the superintendent is just seeing that prior and approving the way that was written in the grant, that they're in agreeance with that. Athletic administrative supervision responsibilities, $35 an hour. We are asking that be an added stipend to assist with, and maybe Mr. Howard and Dr. Thomas can explain that a little bit better than I can, of what that expectation is with that stipend, but it's having someone dedicated as the supervisor at athletic games to assist. And if I keep talking, I'll probably put too much in there. Adjunct instructor, we're going from 30 to 35. We're just making that in coordination with that $35 at the top that we changed from 25 to 35. Those cafeteria manager stipends, those were a one-year discussion that we had, so those are coming off, and we rearranged Becky's school nutrition salary tables to help accommodate that. So those are the big things on that first page. And then everything else within the instructional stipends is just changing your $25 an hour to $35. And then you'll see GRC coach stipends have been changed. And that is a discussion that Mr. Keene had in wanting to up those salaries for those coaches at the high school level and how much time they put in with our kids in practices and games and all of that. And then we're asking to increase the RDC athletic director $1,000 to $6,000 from $5,000. So those are the changes we are proposing. Athletics is chomping at the bit to get started. We have coaches that are really already started, but so we need that athletic one approved for sure. But any questions on those? I ran through that really fast.
The position for district athletic director, who how does word it? Who do they report to?
The superintendent.
Okay. And we haven't had that
We did not
position
have that
filled
this
for a
past year,
while.
no.
No, okay. So just because it's on here doesn't mean it's going to be used.
Correct. So what occurred this past year is that $10,000, Dr. McComas actually took it and split it between RDC and GRC and gave $6,000 to GRC and $4,000 to RDC to use for their athletic departments. So we used the money in a sense, but not on she redirected it for the athletic department.
And I don't intend to fill a district athletic director position. If it's something that we determined as a board that we really do need, we'll keep the position on there. That's a conversation I would have with the board before we move forward with that.
Yeah, the whole thought process of taking money for a position and spreading it out to other people without board approval is questionable in my eyes. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was just a funding source thing, but, and I certainly agree with you on that we either set aside the money for the athletic departments to use, and if we still have this position that's dedicated, we save that money to be dedicated with that. Completely
Yeah.
agree
Okay.
with that. Our big thing is to make certain that the needs of each school is met, and we think we have that right now.
I think that was like so that the scheduling, to help with all the scheduling area-wide, because Donald gets it, don't you? Don't you have to try to schedule everybody? Wasn't that what you were trying to do? With all the fields, so that was what we had talked about, having somebody
Yeah,
in that position here, or,
yeah, for the whole district to actually help. When the whole complex was built at the high school, the thought process at that time was maybe at some point look at having a person, call it a district-wide athletic director, call it whatever you want, to oversee the scheduling not only for the school system, but also promote activities for the community, to bring in funding and events that could possibly be used out there. Work with the local chamber of commerce, work with whoever to do that. So I think that's a discussion that we still need to have.
Yeah, the position still remains, and it can be filled as that need is. Again, I think initially just hitting the ground this week with it, talking with the two schools, seeing that their needs were met was forefront on that.
Sure.
Any more discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023 stipends.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Ellis. Superintendent's report, Dr. Thomas.
Well, I just, tonight for Superintendent's report, just want to briefly mention the interactions that I've had with so many in our district and our community. And first of all, thank the board for the opportunity to serve. As the board knows, it's an important time for Clark County schools, and I'm humbled and honored just to help out during the interim in choosing the next leader. I won't choose the next leader, but in helping getting us to that point. And I just think it's been a pleasure, really, to meet each individual board member and talk with them, and really just see how the board envisions our district both individually and collectively as a board. And I've met with our district leaders and principals to hear about their roles, to discuss the good work we're doing and how we can best be ready for students come August, and hear how each principal is working to get their schools and their staffs ready so our students do arrive here in just a few weeks. And it's been really good to get to work with Dustin Howard as our Chief Academic Officer. He's a true dedicated individual to our students and our community in Clark County. He's hit the ground running in his new role, and we're glad to have him in that role. And in addition to our district leaders and board, I've been able to hear from various teachers and parents and interested individuals and groups as I've visited several of our schools. I'll continue to do so in the next week or so, and try to be really into every building, and especially with the principals, to hear what their needs are leading into this school year. And I'll be the first to say that I love the first day of school. It's a great day, and everyone's excited about the potential that a new school year has. So I look forward to getting all of our buses rolling and all of those routes filled, and our students arriving and having our teachers and staff ready at their school. So thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. Internal board business, number 26, committee appointments. Safe Schools Committee.
I thought y'all were volunteering, both of y'all raised your hand.
The mayor's leaving, so.
I was like, okay.
Hold on, let me find this. Like your member, board committee appointments. You're on the school facilities committee, correct?
Yeah.
And you're gonna be on there for a while?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I can't remember how long I'm on there, but I'm on there for a while.
Any other committees?
I'd like to volunteer for a Safe School Committee,
Okay.
unless no one's on that right now, correct?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Partners in Education Board, that was Ms. Considine.
They meet once a month?
Pretty frequently.
Yeah. I don't know that I can.
And right now, I can't commit to that yet. There's no way.
I'll take one for the team.
Thank you.
I'll do that, you're welcome. Budget and Finance Committee, Ms. Constantine and I were both on that.
I'll be glad to serve on that. I've served on it before.
I would like to serve on it too.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
Does it take two?
Takes two, yeah, okay.
Well, I think we're gonna revamp how it's set up, so I mean, that is your all's decision if you want one or two members on it.
I'll be the alternate. District Achievement and Sports Committee.
I'll take that one since I'm up.
And the Calendar Committee.
Well, I guess that's me.
I know you've got a lot going on. I don't care to do that.
Well, we'll have to redo them anyway eventually, so. When's the calendar committee meeting?
They've already met. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be-
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's a whole year away.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
You'll be good.
Everybody good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody might have to remind me that I'm on that one, because I've never been on that one before.
Yeah, could we get the chair of these committees to send us a note or send us who the chair of the committees are so we can make sure we start communicating with them?
We'll work on that.
Okay.
For sure.
I know about the budget and finance. I don't need that one.
We don't already find out.
Yeah, find out.
Number 27, opening a forensic audit bids. So here are the bids, right?
That's it, one bid.
One bid.
Just one.
Yes, I'm gonna let you open it.
It's like Christmas. Clifton Larson Allen. Well, let's see here. Proposals. I don't know how we do this since we just have one.
We don't, it's not written to take any action. We've
Okay.
opened it in public.
Okay.
I'm gonna have Arlene, maybe, this is just throwing it out there, get us a copy of it. We can pick it up. Does that work?
Mhm.
To review it
To
and
look
then
at it.
Mhm.
maybe
Okay.
address it on the next regular meeting?
That's fine. Should we announce who responded, or would that be appropriate?
Yeah, that's fine.
CLA Clifton Larson Allen LLP. They're out of Illinois.
Okay.
Thank you.
You want this with it?
Arlene, do you care to make a copy of that for each board member? Thank you.
Put it on the drive.
Yeah, would you rather it be on the drive, uploaded to the drive? Or
That
do-
would make it easier instead of
Yeah.
killing a bunch of trees.
Is that okay?
Yeah. If you can just scan it,
Scan it, upload it.
upload it.
Thank you.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Consent agenda items, any questions? If not, would someone like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve consent items 28 through 43.
I have a motion by Mr. Talby, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Richardson, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Board member Kudos?
I'll start. I would like to thank Dr. Thomas and Mr. Howard that's come in a tough situation and have started moving us toward a good direction and getting ready for school to start, and excited to work with both of y'all on going forward.
Thank you.
Am I allowed to go this time?
Hmm?
Y'all got on to me last time.
We did?
Yeah, you said I did too many.
Oh.
So I'm just
You
gonna
thanked
do Miss
everybody in the
Arlene
room.
this time. Thank you, Miss Arlene, for holding down the fort again. And taking care of us as always. So I appreciate you.
You do take really good care of us all.
And we need it.
Yeah, thank you. I've been out and about lately, and the maintenance staff working their butts off, getting ready for school. Appreciate it.
And I'd like to welcome, I noticed Jordan Fultz was here tonight. We have our new transportation and Mr. Howard, so welcome.
Is that all?
That's it.
Do I have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. We're in closed session at 7:54.